to the Diner Podcast, where we eat our lunch or breakfast. Welcome to the Diner Podcast. I'm your host, Red Velvet. With me, as always, is Uncle Lump.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. But that's enough about us. We have a very special guest coming to us remotely, Mr. Sean McRae. How we doing today?
I'm good, boys. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Wonderful.
great.
It sounded like you got introduced by Dr. Seuss down there.
What?
It was a good rhyme. You nailed it.
I'm a rhymer,
So-
I guess.
I'm excited to talk to you. I was doing a little research before, and you just seem like right up the alley of the things we talk about a lot. You seem very motivational, and I just kind of want to jump right into your story and journey. So what kind of, I guess, what sparked kind of the start to everything you're doing now?
It was definitely a passion in music that that kicked everything off. Yeah, my dad, so my parents are split at a young age, which was a blessing, which was really awesome for me because I was able to get both my parents kind of separate.
Mhm.
And my dad's a singer. So he's always been in bands throughout, and then got into karaoke, and now he's like a crooner. He's doing 50 plus shows a year at retirement homes and stuff. So getting that early exposure to music was huge. And I got a taste for it. His best friend was a sound man, a touring sound man. So I was able to, I didn't have a lot of money, or the family didn't have a lot of money as a kid, but when I was a kid, but I was able to get a lot of crazy experiences. So when a band would come to town or come close by, my dad would get the invite. I'd be tagging along as a young kid. So getting kind of involved in that lifestyle, and that led me to actually starting my first production company while I was in high school. I started banging out beats, making music, composing. And I was kind of selling music while I was in high school. And that got my entrepreneurial juices going. And that was the Kickstarter.
So obviously doing that early on, you kind of developed that mindset for that very, very quickly. I assume you just kind of fell in love with it then, and then just kept that going after high school, to where for our sake, we had no idea what we wanted to do. So then we spent an asinine amount of money at a college that we did not get a degree from, or at least I didn't. And now here we are, a couple decades later, and now we're trying to figure out this world. So I always love hearing people that started that, right off the bat, you knew exactly what you wanted to do and you started chasing that passion. How did that kind of translate once you got out of high school?
Well, it's funny, Jared, you mentioned that, because I actually ended up going the route, probably along the lines that you took as well.
Oh, well,
nothing's ever linear, right? So
yeah,
that was the start, was starting this music company, this production company. And obviously eyes as big as saucers back then. And, at the same time, I also had to, I wanted to be realistic. So I kind of got the business sense. I grew up in a, lower income housing neighborhood, and kind of learned, some street economics and a, how to get by that path as well. So I was able to adopt that lifestyle into the, running a business. And what ended up happening is, at the same time, I was like, okay, I got to be realistic. The next step after high school is I should be, quote unquote, I should be following the next step in post-secondary. So I ended up going to university and here in Canada. And, I was still working in the music side with some artists out in Kansas City in the States. And studio ended up going belly up in Kansas City as I was writing my last exam. So I said, okay, I'm going to stay here in Ottawa and finish my university. And at that point, I didn't really know where to go. I thought it was, time to grow up. I guess. So I finished university, but then I was stuck. I was like, man, now what? I need to kind of get out of the music scene, I think, because I need to kind of evolve as a human and become an adult and take that next step. But I didn't know what to do. I had the piece of paper from university, but I'm like, excuse my language, but shit, I'm not going to be like a teacher. I wanted to specialize working with mentally challenged kids. So I wanted developmentally disabled and developmentally delayed youth, more in a high school setting to like help them take the next step in like life goals and life changes. And but that once I finished university, I was like, that's not the path that is for me. So I was in the same boat. I was stuck for a long time. I got a paper trail job at the Ottawa hospital here. I really enjoyed the job, but I knew it was, and this is not to knock anybody that was working in the departments that I was working in, but for me, it was a dead end job. So I enjoyed it, but I wasn't self-fulfilled, and it looked great on paper. So that was my next stop to kind of like, to go there to at least like start making some money and like start making some more money on paper rather than, running a studio and producing music. It's a lot of cash. That doesn't show that well once you get into your 20s and you're trying to look to make moves, whether it's to invest in things or start things or get into home ownership or whatever it is. Right. Can't just show up with a bag of money for everything. So
so
I was
some things you can
for quite a while. I was stuck.
So was that kind of what deterred, like the passion aspect obviously was the music. So was that kind of what deterred that and made you venture into the college world, was what you wanted to do with that stability?
A little bit. I've always had the mindset, and I got these, I think this was instilled from my mom, so that, she always had a 9 to 5 and worked really, really hard, where my dad was a hustler mentality. He would switch jobs like I would switch, like faster than I could switch shoes. And he was always searching for, I don't even want to say the next best thing, but he was always searching for something better. And I think as a kid, I looked at that as like, oh my God, like he's unstable, like he's all over the place. Whereas now I recognize it as like, if he wasn't fulfilled or wasn't fully content, well then he wasn't planting roots. Like he would be on the chase, right? And on the hunt. And I got from my mom, though, the sense of education, whether it was like self-taught, like self-learning, institutional experience, whatever it was. If you would invest in an education of sorts that would potentially give you some information down the road or skills down the road that would better a situation that you could be in, then it was an investment worth making. So that was kind of my philosophy, is like, okay, I have the family pressures, of course, of being like, let's go to university and do the right thing. But I also thought, like, if I can pick some skills out of this that might help me down the road in life, even if it's not necessarily a career path, then it might not be that bad of a choice to make. And that was kind of the driving force. And I'm also big on, if I start something, I really, really do try to finish it. So even though I was checked out of university after one, I wanted to make sure that I got that piece of paper, really to make my mom proud. But like, again, I thought maybe there's something there that's going to help me down the road. And if not, so be it. I went to, I finished a school program. Like I wasn't even going to classes. Like I was doing the work.
Same.
But like, I wasn't going to the actual campus. I was kind of just getting it done. Like I really scraped by, but the paper's on the wall beside me,
There you go. Yeah. That's all that matters right there.
That's it.
Well, and I always like to go back and ask that on the passion side, because I feel like it's like that in everything with life. You gravitate towards those things that you enjoy, and then it doesn't feel like work. And then you, by default, you start working harder. You're putting more effort and energy to it. And we kind of had a similar, it's similar in the sequence. It's not similar in what we did, but we did a lot of like dumb backyard wrestling videos after high school. And then we were in college. It did not pan out. We all went into the real world and got jobs and did that. And then here we are in our mid-30s commentating, ring announcing wrestling. We're doing stuff in the wrestling world, interviewing people. And it's like, shit, we should have just chased our passion in the beginning, and we could have just stuck this and kept doing it as we were younger kids. And it was like, hindsight, but we learned a lot of lessons along the way. So, every divine timing, everything happens for a reason. And you kind of develop that where you just kind of let go of those what ifs. And it's like, all right, let's just put energy towards the goal now and work our asses off to get there. Is that,
Absolutely.
And I assume that's kind of the mindset you took as well. That's why I always love having these conversations, because we are in the midst of that journey currently. And it's like you're kind of in that world where you just keep pumping things out, you're doing things, and we've had a lot of awesome opportunities, and it's like you're kind of waiting for that big thing to happen where it's like, all right, we just have to keep at it, keep the consistency, keep doing it, and you're just kind of pumping out things with that blind faith of like, all right, just keep getting better and this is going to work.
And I think you guys nailed it. Like in my case, that's exactly what it was. So like the passion for music never went away, but the realities shifted my perspective and my focus so that I got out of music completely. And, I was working at the Ottawa hospital, felt that it was dead end. And I was like, okay, I got to do something. So I started a general contracting company with a buddy of mine, who's a general contractor, English as a second language, my brother from another mother. So we got into business, and I quickly found out that I absolutely despised it. So the thing is that I felt it was a thankless job. It just wasn't for me. I did some construction estimating at school, this, that, and the other, and like prepped myself for it. But again, thankless job. I felt we were bending over backwards. We were busy, but like the money wasn't equaling the return in terms of like mainly the emotional return. And I carried this guilt for ages about wanting to get out of it, like desperately wanted to like turn and run as fast as I could away from this company, but then had that guilt of letting my buddy down, knowing that this was his bread and butter in terms of like surviving. Like I felt that he needed this. So I had that guilt of like not wanting to bring it up to him. And so I stuck every time the work phone would ring. I was dreading it. Like the anxiety was building, and I was like, man. So now I'm in a position where like I'm working for myself, making okay money, but hating it. I kept the hospital job as well because I wanted to make sure that the other avenue was going to work before jumping out of my stable job. Yeah. And so now I'm in this like catch where it's like it's a vicious circle of not liking anything that I'm doing at all hours of the day and being on call for something that I absolutely despise with the general contracting.
And that shit gets depressing. Like
I hit it without recognizing it. Like I didn't know really what to look for. And, having a strong sense of like a strong will myself. And like, I do have a lot of self-belief. So I was like, no, I just got to put in the work and like pull my socks up and like stop crying about it and make it work. And it took me a long time to realize like this ain't it for me. Like this is not this isn't the play.
Well, I think your body kind of tells you, like if you listen to your, like that anxiety, that stress that you feel every day. I got to the point in the job I was working where it was the same thing. When you were talking about the phone ringing, I was on call basically 24/7. So that thing would ring and it was like, oh, for the love of God, like I don't want to do this anymore. And got to the point where I couldn't even do like my morning work. I would just get that like skin crawl. Everything in my body was like, get up and walk away, like get out of here. And once I finally quit, everything went away, that anxiety. And then we've talked about it a million times, but then I just started tackling each of those one by one. And I'd say the biggest lesson I learned was dropping the ego and looking at yourself objectively, and then not caring what people think because you can live your life with this mental thing in your head of what everyone thinks of you, what everyone's going to think of you, whatever, but you, in all fairness, have no idea what they're thinking, nor can you control it. So it's an exhausting existence to live. So once you can drop those things,
it's like starting a podcast in a small town. Well, they like us. Apparently they do, but I agree with you 100%, Sean. I was in construction for about 15 years. Absolutely hated it, but that was all I knew. So I thought I was in this endless loop of hell. And then finally, I guess the pandemic hit, and it's like, okay, well, I got to go do something else to make money now. And found a job that I liked until they sold out, and then it sucked. And then right around that time, he texts me and goes, "Hey, you want to start a podcast?" Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Nice. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. So with what you're doing now, how did that translate? Like once you were going through those steps, when did that first chunk of success hit where it was like, oh, okay, shit, this is like, I think we're on to something here?
Yeah. So it goes back to, it's a great question. It goes back to the continued education, actually. So I was so stuck. I finally did get the courage to let my partner know, listen, I'm this is how I'm feeling, bro. I need out. And he, of course, he's my brother. He was like, yeah, man, well then get out. Like, what are you doing here? Like, how long have you been feeling like this? And as soon as I told him, like, I'm pretty sure he was ready to just punch me in the face, because he was like, dude, like, why didn't you just mention something like 8 months ago, a year ago? And I'm like, I felt this type of way. And he's like, well, you're an idiot, but I'm glad you told me now. Like, let's close the doors. I'm like, I want to close them now. And he's like, we'll be fine, man. I'll figure something out. So we closed the doors. And Jared, you said something about the wrestling and about, taking, entering the real world. So this is my thing on that. And I agree with you, but as long as you leave, if you have the passion in something, you don't have to close the door. You just have to walk through to the other side, see what's there, make it work. But you can always return to that previous room. And I've been super, super blessed to be able to do that on a lot of fronts. And I think the biggest one was I was desperately trying to find out what my next step was. And I was trying everything, like trying different businesses, trying different, ideas, business plans, models, just really trying to scratch and claw to get myself out of that well. And what ended up happening was, one of the avenues was, I had another close friend that was like, bro, like, I don't think you need to shift that crazy. I think becoming a real estate agent is for you. Like, it's not a 9-to-5. It's a run and gun hustler mentality job. You don't work for anybody. It's all on you. You're your own biggest critic anyway. So I think that this is an avenue that you should maybe explore. And I was like, all right, well, I'm down. I'll check it out. So I went to school, did the schooling. Again, the schooling was great because it was on your own time. So you could bang out an 18-month course, or courses, an 18-month program, I should say, basically as fast as you're able to. So I was able to bang it out in like 5 or 6 months and get my license. And the moment I got licensed, I had that like, okay, now what? Like most real estate agents or brokers get. Now what do I do? Like, I don't have a clientele. Like, I'm coming from subsidized housing. Like, I don't know that many homeowners or people that are looking to buy and sell. I also don't fit the mold for a traditional looking real estate agent or real estate broker. And I was like, well, you know what? Like, I'm going to just be me. I'm going to market myself. I'm actually going to use the fact that I don't look like a traditional real estate agent. I'm going to try to use that to my advantage. And then I also, I got creative in a lot of my marketing ways, but then I also changed my perspective about my dead end hospital job, where I was like, listen, I like the job. I know it's not the be all end all for me, but I'm working in a department full of surgeons, radiologists, technologists, other various doctors, clerks that have good paper trail jobs. Like, I'm in an environment surrounded by in an environment with people that are highly qualified to be buying and selling properties. So why don't I start farming the healthcare system in my city to start getting real estate? And I completely turned that the dead end feeling into a incredible marketing and advertising space that I was actually getting paid to be there to market and advertise for. And that was the first taste of success for me, because my first showing, luckily outside of the hospital, but my first showing as a real estate agent, the client, this person prospect that I showed the property to, wanted to put in an offer, and we didn't we didn't get it, but I was like, okay, like,
I got this.
There's potential here, right? So I was really able to get a taste within that first year of becoming a real estate agent. I knew right away I was, making triple on paper from anything that I've ever made in a year anywhere else. So I'm like, okay, I'm on to something here. And I actually did the moonlight. Like, I kept the hospital job, Red, kind of like what you were saying with the construction for timing. I kept that hospital job for 4 years after I became licensed as a real estate agent, to really nurture and make sure that I was able to take that next step. And once COVID was hitting, it was actually just by dumb luck, but February of 2020, my wife was like, no, like, bro, it's time to get out of your little hospital job. Like, everybody knows that you're a real estate broker. You don't need to physically be there to wave to people when they walk by. Like, you're good. So I gave my notice, and then March, of course, everything shut down. So it was just crazy time. Crazy time.
Well, and I think that's kind of what you said at the beginning of that. I think you nailed what it is with most of these things. It's being authentic and being yourself. You realized immediately, hey, I'm not like these other real estate people, and I'm not going to try to be like these other real estate people. I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to do my thing, and this is how we're going to make it work. And I think that's kind of what people are missing in life a lot, is that just being authentically yourself. Again, don't care what people think, and just do what you want to do. Like, we're all human. Everyone has demons. Everyone has problems and things and whatever. And you can consume yourself with all of that stuff. But as soon as you let that go and start being yourself, you literally do. You start finding your passions. You start finding your drive for these things that you love. And then those things that you love blossom so fast. And it's like, oh, wow, this makes no sense. Like, why is this working? Why? And it's because you love it, and you're giving that real authentic energy to it. And I think that's kind of what the, I don't know, magic formula is, I guess, if there is one.
Jared, I agree with you. I think so, to take that a step further too, because obviously I'm a people pleaser by nature, and I do struggle with I shouldn't say I struggle with. I'm aware of that. I do consciously think about, how I'm perceived and like how people are thinking of me. I think that's a natural human tendency.
Absolutely.
That everybody wants to be loved, right? So I'm good with constructive criticism. I'm good with haters too. Like, I'm all right with that. But of course, my goal is to be liked. Like, it's human nature. But absolutely, what I really struggled with out of that, to take that another step further, was the power of saying no. And as a people pleaser, that's where I struggled. It wasn't as much what other people thought of me. It was more so that I was just trying to be there for everything and not let anybody down. Even if it was like something super, small that I really had no part to play in. I had a hard time saying no. So it wasn't up until a couple of years ago that I really kind of, and I'm still, obviously, it's always a work in progress, but really like drew that line in the sand as like almost a resolution, saying like, I'm no longer going to do shit that I'm not interested in. If it's not a doctor, dentist, or lawyer, if I'm not interested in it, I'm not going to do it. And how I was really able to get that across, especially in social things with, with the boys, with friends, was, I put it out there and I said, you guys all know me, you know the real me. If I'm not feeling something, I'm not going to do it. But what I want this to come across as is that anytime that I'm present and I'm doing something with you, just know that there's nothing else in the world that I would rather be doing than this right here, right now. So whether that's watching a movie, grabbing a beer, doing whatever, I'm here because I really want to be here, and this is what I want to be doing. And then people started taking that as like, oh, damn, like, okay, I can respect that.
Yeah. Well, because you're being honest. You're telling people how you really feel. And I think, again, it's so relieving. I would rather someone just tell me to fuck off to my face than like talk about it behind me. Like, I would rather you just be like, hey man, go fuck yourself. Be like, cool, got it. And
but tomorrow might be a different story, right?
Like, now I know. Like, now I know where we're at. And it's not this like weird game where, you hate me and then I love the authentic. I love just having those real conversations with people. And that's kind of what we started this on, was like, we had a cool conversation where we were talking about anxiety and parenting and stress and life. And it was like, well, this is really cool. We should record this. Like, we should do this and record this stuff and just keep being crazy honest about life and what you go through. Because it's like, I think, again, it's like that human nature to want to kind of pretend there are no problems, or that everything's great, or like it's embarrassing if you have financial issues, or it's embarrassing if your health, or like whatever. You kind of, like, human nature, I think you just feel those feelings, and it's like that, like, oh, I don't want people to know that about me. And you kind of get over those things, and it's very freeing, because you're just like, oh, okay, I'll just, like, the more we talked about things on here, we've done damn near 200 episodes now, like, we talk about all kinds of wild things. So then it opens up that barrier where you kind of, I don't know, it's not that you don't care, you don't have that like anxiety filled body all the time, or you're like, oh man, people are going to think I'm weird if I said this, or and you just overthink everything. And that was something I had to like tackle very, very hard, because I would leave podcast and I would like overthink the whole episode, or I'd be thinking 2 questions ahead because I'm trying to make sure we don't have any dead space in the podcast. And then I'm like not present at all, paying attention, and I'm missing things. And it's like, hey, you could have asked a question about that, dumbass, if you would have been paying attention. So you kind of have those like lessons along the way where it's like, oh, okay, I've got to just be present in the moment. I can't change the past, and I can change the future by what I'm doing today, not by sitting here and worrying about it or thinking about it. I can just put energy into the present and today. And again, that's been one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Good for you.
Go ahead. This is a completely off topic.
Go for it.
All right. You said you're a big wrestling fan.
Yes, sir.
Who's your wrestler? Who's your favorite?
So my favorite wrestler right now is Kevin Owens.
Okay.
He's outside of Montreal.
He's done for a while.
He's been at it for a while. So he's definitely my favorite. Bray Wyatt was. So yeah, always a huge soft spot there. Yeah, so that would be on the independent scene, Joey Janela for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Joey. Yeah, so he would be up there, and then I think the other guy is it's got to be Josh Bishop on the indie scene right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I work with Josh. He's incredible worker, really really good dude, and like I'm just counting down the days till he's up in the marquees. But yeah, I would say on the professional side, I would go with Kevin Owens, and then on the overall scene, like Joey's there, and definitely Josh Bishop's there.
Okay.
How about you?
Mine, well, it was the Undertaker. Now I like Braun Breaker. He's just rough dude.
Yeah.
Independence, I don't know. Because I'm becoming friends with all these wrestlers now, and I'm like, I like you. I like you. Yeah. So I'm like, you're all my favorite. How about that? You're all my favorite.
Yeah.
But the independent stuff's fun. That we've got to commentate and ring announce, and getting to like learn that world and be involved in it is a freaking blast. It is like literally the most fun thing that I think we do.
Yeah.
I'm much happier being on the mic than I am in the ring. I'm good. Watching dudes fly through ladders and stuff. I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, I know. It's these guys, they're animals, man. It's absolutely crazy. And you guys have kids?
Yeah.
So are they into wrestling?
My daughters are. My son's 17, so everything's lame. We're in that stage of life, but my girls love it.
Nice. Yeah.
Both of mine, they went in and out of it, but since we've been doing the wrestling stuff, they have absolutely fallen in love with it now. So it has become a household favorite again, which obviously makes me very happy.
Yeah.
What got you into wrestling?
Well, so my son got me back to where I'm at now. It's
always the kids.
He's 8. So I had a huge appreciation for it growing up, obviously in like the Attitude Era days, like, being in school, like that was just the hottest thing out. Right. So, I was big into that. Always loved the crossover too of like, having wrestling bleed into music and movies and like other entertainment and art forms. Like, so I always recognized that. And I just, the presentation and the work that goes into it, I always appreciated that. There were some, in my opinion, some darker times of wrestling where I couldn't get in. So I got out of it for quite a while. And then I started just getting back into it on like the pay-per-views, like the premium live events quite a few years ago. And then it wasn't until even just a couple years ago, like I was following it, but once my son saw like I was like, okay, you're able to like, let's check it out. He was hook, line, and sinker. Like that's his goal is like right now he's 8. All he wants to do is be a wrestler. So he's wrestling.
That's so cool.
He's doing taunts. He's got his, obviously me being in the music industry, like I'm creating intros for him.
Oh, I love it.
Songs. He's got his entrances. And then now with, the evolution of, with video games coming in too for him, we're playing WWE 2K like every day. but he's like absolutely obsessed. So I do the independent, like I'm at the independent wrestling once a month here in Ottawa, also looking after Josh and stuff. And I'm fortunate, like I have a few wrestlers and stuff that follow me on Instagram. So chat with them, and they're always really good with the kids. So he gets like this experience where it's like, my dad knows so-and-so, or so-and-so just sent me a video message, just giving me a shout out or whatever. Like, so that's been the biggest pull, is just like watching from like over top, like watching my son kind of get immersed in it and just fall in love with the same way I did as a kid. It's like, it's the coolest, right?
And then you get to be kind of like the catalyst to that too, because we've got to experience that a little bit, where like you're interacting with the wrestlers and the kids are like, whoa, like this is awesome. And it's such a fun world, because you just get to play, like you get to be a kid again. You get to just like enjoy this thing, check out, and just have a blast. You're yelling, you're screaming, and it's literally one of the greatest things in the world. I wish more people got into wrestling like we do, because it's just like I don't know. It's hard to describe if you're not like a wrestling fan and you're not in it. It's hard to describe that feeling you get. Just like, even though everyone knows what's going on and what it is, like you still get those like the goosebumps, the like that, like when they kick out at 2 3/4 and you're like, oh no, I thought that was over. And like, you just check out and have fun. And we do that with our commentary. We just like, it's us just having fun talking about what we're seeing, but we're ramped up to a 10 and just having a blast. Like, and they've let us drink on it before, and we just loosen up and just have a good time. It's so much fun.
That's it. And at those shows, like you look around, like, I'm sure it's the same. Those shows, you look around and you have all walks of life in under one roof, and all these people from everywhere, like whether it's like first dates or boys' night out or bachelorette parties or, the tattoo squad or, lower income housing areas, like, like everybody is just in the melting pot where like, especially like where I'm at, because that's what I can speak of. But, it's a packed house once a month. It's all walks of life where absolutely everybody gets along. And like the people watching is great. It's fun and hilarious for that reason, but it's also super wholesome. The fact that these are situations that I probably wouldn't be with this group of people under one roof for anything else in life other than this, which is like crazy cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And everybody's having a good time, and it's a worldwide thing. Like in different languages, you can go over to Japan and it's the same, like it translates, because you get the storytelling, you get what they're doing, you understand like the aspect of the match and how it's going, and it translates across the board, and they can make you feel all of the things over the course of a couple hours show. And it's like, this is incredible. And what they do and how they put their bodies through things, it's fascinating to me. I've been watching the WWE playbacks lately and listening to them like break down their matches and what they did, and they were talking about how bad things hurt, or this is what was going on here. You were giving me a break because you knew you hit me hard or whatever. And it was like, oh man, like it's such a cool insight to what they do and how much pain they're in. I was watching one of, I think it was Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle. And it was after their match, and Brock was completely concussed, had no idea where he was at. He was out of it. Angle went into shock, and his whole body, he was like trembling and shaking. And it's like, man, these guys like literally kill themselves for our entertainment. And then the internet wrestling community has the audacity to talk shit when someone hits the ropes wrong or whatever. And it's like, oh, fuck you people. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. I know.
Most of the people
it's such a fun world.
Get in the ring. What?
No, absolutely not. And it's such a fun world to be in. But I want to get back to your kind of journey and your success. So do you still, obviously, you were talking about producing the entrance music, do you still do a lot of the music stuff as well?
So I'm actually split now, because what happened, and that's why I said like don't close the door on a passion, right? Because as I was really taking off on the real estate side, things were really good. Real estate side, started a property investment company, doing our own property management, staging, flipping, like all this real estate world kind of opened up. And so there's two things here. So one from that are pretty funny. So one of them is on the music side. I had a buddy of mine bring me an artist, and he was like, dude, you got to hear this guy. And I'm like, okay. So I listened to him, and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, he's got it. He's got it. Like, what's his story? And he's like, oh, like he's from Ottawa. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And like, he's young, he's like 17 or whatever. And that's what he's about. And I said, okay, what do you want me to do? And they're like, well, I can't get him. And my buddy was like managing him, looking after him. And he's like, I can't get him to where he needs to go probably without having some backing. And I'm like, okay, well, like, let me think about it. Let me ask you a couple quick questions. So two questions is like, what's his character like? Right. He gave him a glowing review on character. And I said, does he have a criminal record? Because if he can't travel, if we can't go stateside, there's no point. Like, I'm not going to invest time, effort, and money into something that we can't even put on the platform that we really need to put it on for it to grow. Right. So he had no criminal record. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm going to be basically a silent investor. I'll start investing, putting in some effort on the back end, but like, you guys do your thing. Like, I'm just here to kind of help, but you guys do your thing. And, it took about 6 or 7 months, maybe even a bit longer, that I never even met the artist. Like, I never even met him. And, but intentionally. And then it got to a point where we're like at a crossroads where I was like, okay, now I'm going to step in and like get more involved. And like, let's take this from 60 to 100 as fast as we possibly can. And that's what we did. We just started grinding, working together. And, I was back in, not so much on the boards of like the production side, but, hanging out in the studio, being present on a lot of the business decisions. My official role with him was like his advisor. And, we took it and we ended up signing a record deal with Columbia Records and we worked with Polo G, who's a big rapper out of Chicago. So he's out in LA. So we got connected with him, built this amazing relationship, and bond with him and his camp. And so we ride with Polo and company, ODA. And then, we signed a major record deal with Columbia Records.
That's awesome. So what's kind of your method when you are in the studio? We got to talk to a producer once, but I like to hear like how the creative brain works. So like, what's kind of your mindset when you start working on a song?
Yeah, so it depends if I'm with people or not. So that's the main thing, is that it always depends like what the vibe is and who I'm around. I do most of like all my actual production now. I'm alone, like I'm solo.
Okay.
I lone wolf for sure. So I'm in the studio just banging out music, creating stuff that I want to create. I'm not selling music outside anymore. So I'm just composing and creating for myself. And then I work with a couple artists that, it basically goes into a Dropbox folder. And if somebody wants to use it, great. If they don't, no sweat off my back. That's not what I do it because I'm passionate about it. I don't want to be a big popular, famous producer or anything. That's not an intention of mine anymore. I just love to create, and I do love obviously creating something and where an artist that I know will be like, bro, this is insane. Like, can we work something out? Yeah, let's work something out. Let's get it done. I enjoy now pressure off. I like being, behind everybody on the boards, more as an executive side, where the artist, it's kind of it's the actual like tracking stage. It's the engineering stage. Cause I ran 2 studios for so long as well, tracking and recording, engineering, that I like just being in the back and being like, my ears telling me like, let's try this, do this. Let's try this. Okay, that didn't work. That didn't work. That works. What do you guys think about this? Kind of running point, not as like the loudest voice in the room, but I definitely like contributing.
Yeah.
Now I also just like being along for the ride, right? I like just being in that atmosphere and being like, yeah, this sounds good. And if there's something that stands out to me, I mention it. Otherwise, just enjoy the process.
Oh, yeah. Then you can kind of pick your spots too, and it's relaxed. And I feel like too, just same thing I was talking about earlier, like when I was stressed out about asking questions, it was way more difficult. Whenever you're in the present moment and you're just relaxed, I feel like that creativity, those thoughts, they just kind of they pop in your head a little quicker, and it's just like, oh, hey, I hear this, or hey, I see that. Let's try this. Is that kind of the same thought pattern? And you can just kind of like pick those spots as a sniper. You're a little more relaxed, and you don't have that like full-fledged pressure.
Yeah, for sure. And especially like doing the solo beat production, like the music production on the solo end is like, I'm jamming, right? It's just a one-man jam, but like I'm doing it because, again, like that's what I want to be doing at that particular time. It's not set schedule. It's not working hours. It's like when I want to do that, I'm there. When the passion is pulling me to that, I drop what I'm doing if I can, you know, especially at night once like my son's gone to bed. That's where I'm creating. And that's where I'm creating most of the time anyway, is at night after he goes to bed. You know, I'm doing this, you know, I'm following my passions. And like we said, like when you're doing something you really love, it doesn't necessarily feel like work, but at the end of the day, you're still working really hard. So I'm doing this. If I had a choice to do it or not do it, I would still choose to do it because it's fulfilling me. And I feel like it's part of me. It's my identity, like who I am. But I'm also very intentional that I'm also doing this because I do like getting money, and I like getting money so that I can live the life that I'm currently living. And obviously the center of that universe is my son, is my 8-year-old, you know, my wife and son. I need to provide and take care for them. And I more than need is like, I want to, I take great pride in that. So the harder I can work and the more I can achieve is not necessarily for the accolade. It's to say like, man, like my son is living a life that I never would have imagined that as a kid. And that doesn't mean it's better or worse. It just means it's so different from what I experienced. And I take a lot of pride in being able to provide those opportunities or that lifestyle for him where he can actually do whatever he wants to do. And I don't really have to sweat that much about it. And it's like such a good, fulfilling feeling. And to take it a step further on that, I think that's where all these like different entities go on. When we're talking about work, or we're talking about wrestling as a passion, or music as a passion and occupation, and real estate and not wanting to fit in with the mold, I think that's what's really been separating me on my, you know, my own internal success, is that I don't have different compartments for everything. Like I don't separate my life as in like a work life, like the work-life balance type thing. Like I don't do like a personal, you know, I'm a partner with the professional soccer team here in Ottawa, like the professional club. Yeah, they asked me a few years ago if I would partner with them. Like I don't.
Badass.
Yeah, so I don't separate all that. That is literally all under one roof. Like when you meet me, like I'm Sean. What you see is what you get on that front, and like there's no like putting a different. Yeah, I guess in a sense you're putting a different hat on, but like I kind of just wear all those hats. Like it's probably one of those stupid hats with the twirly thing. Like that's if I, you know, that would be me. But like what you see is what you get. I don't. I can shop. I can do whatever, and it's not like, okay, I got to go be this guy here. It's like, no, I'm going to be me. And if you're picking up what I'm putting down, great. And if you don't, it's all good. Like it was super cool connecting with you, and like let's keep it moving.
Well, that's that freeing feeling too, because you don't have to think. Like you're just yourself all the time. We talk about that a lot too, where like I'm on a microphone all the time. If I'm full of shit and I'm saying a bunch of stuff that's not true, and I'm being a whole different person on this microphone than what I am whenever we get off of it, that's not going to translate. That authentic thing's not going to be there. Or then people talk to me outside of this and it's like, oh, this guy's a dickhead, which that might be the case too. But like you try your best to just be yourself all the time. Like you just try your best to always like, whatever it is that you're doing, do it. Like don't conform to what other people are wanting you to do, whatever. Like take what you need to and do it. Do your thing. And life becomes a lot more freeing and a lot less chaotic.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not to say you're not going to have your struggles, because everybody goes through them. Like we mentioned, like, you know, you have ups and downs, you have good days, you have bad days. Sometimes it's in your control, sometimes it's not, but it's being able to take that step back and take a breath and like, you know, just dumb it down and like, think about how much of and I use this and it's kind of lame and, you know, sometimes, but like, I just really like take a step back and look at it from the outside and be like, how much of an absolute miracle is it right now? And that's not to say we haven't gone through, health issues, this, that, and the other, but what a miracle it is for Red, Jared, Sean to be in a conversation, 2 different places or 3 different places at one time, connected on a conversation. The fact that we're actually all living and on the earth and being able to have the capacity to connect right now is absolutely bonkers. So if you're going to cry to me, or I'm going to cry about something that's like, in the grand scheme of things, a drop in the bucket, it's just important to recognize like how fortunate I do this, like how I'll say it from my end, like how fortunate I am to be here right now and to be able to do this. Like that's not lost on me. So when I get frustrated about shit, or like, I'm upset about something, it's okay to vent and it's okay to be upset. It's healthy. It's good.
Yeah. And you got to get it off your chest.
Yeah. And even if it's something super small, like something small to you might not be small to me at that exact moment. If I'm heated, I'm heated. Don't tell me, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, you, like, right. But it's the same thing. I don't do that. I try not to do that to other people. But as soon as I'm able to, kind of take a breath and realize, listen, I'm very, very, very lucky to be where I'm at. All that other stuff goes away. The fog clears very, very quickly.
Well, I think it's feeling the emotion and letting yourself feel the emotion and not suppressing it, not being guilty about it, feeling it, understanding it, get past it. Don't dwell on it. Don't sit on it. Don't stew in the anger. Get through it, obviously, in a good way. Don't lose your shit and start punching people. That's probably not a healthy way to go about it, but like feel the emotion, get through it. And I think that's too, like, as humans, I know I've done it a million times. You go through life again, trying to pretend that you don't have feelings, you don't get sad, you don't get upset, you don't get your feelings hurt, like, and we're all human, that's just part of life. But you get that like societal hardened like exterior where you're just internally like, this sucks, everything's terrible, but I'm not allowed to say anything about it.
You gotta wear the mask.
Once you start releasing that shit and you start talking about it, and then you find out like people hold on to things from back in like middle school. We were talking about wrestling, that Rhea Ripley is one of the most jacked, muscular humans I've ever seen. And she was talking about that some dude in high school told her that she shouldn't get a dress because her shoulders were too broad. And it's like stuck with her for her whole life. And she would like sit in bed crying about it. And like it's stuck with her forever. And it's like just little shit, like one-off comments can stick with people. And just fucking, like, I guess, be nice to people. You don't know what
it's about. Just
like,
be nice.
What will stick with people and what people hold on to. Now, granted, it made her what she is today, so it definitely worked in some facet. But boy, what a tough way to get there.
Yeah, for real, definitely.
But well, I don't want to. I really appreciate all the time you've given us. This has been awesome, guys. One more question before we let you go. If you could give anyone advice that is starting through this journey, obviously it's like riding a roller coaster. You're going to buckle in and ride it, and it's going to be wild. What is the best advice you can give someone that's either in the beginning of it or they're in the midst of it and they've hit a struggle, they've hit a spot where they're contemplating quitting, something along those natures? What kind of advice would you give that person?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think multi-pronged, a couple of little tips and tricks, and then the ideology of it. So I think in terms of tips and tricks, a few important things are stuff like, don't be afraid to say no, so that you're making conscious decisions on things that you actually want to do. Don't do things for the sake of moving the needle, right? Sometimes an opportunity may come, whether it's a monetary thing or not. It may look really good on paper in terms of numbers, but if your gut, like, do a gut check. If you're not into it and you're not feeling it, unless you're at that stage where you absolutely need it, and that can happen, just be careful on the decisions that you make, because you don't want to go down a path that starts with passion and a desire to do something and start changing the reason why you're doing it. If it becomes something that is not authentic, then it probably won't last. And I think that, and even if it does keep lasting, like, you're going to start harboring like ill will towards it, and then it will catch up with you, and it will fizzle out. So I think not being afraid to say no. I think one of the other things for people that get stuck is, the thing about getting stuck is, like, you kind of know where you want to get to. Like you have dreams and aspirations, but you don't necessarily know how to get there. So I think what I do in a lot, I know I do this, but in a lot of situations, I do work my way backwards. So if I know, you know, the next step or 2 steps ahead, like those steps, I'll do that from my current position. But then I also go from the other end of the spectrum. Like this is my kind of quote unquote end goal or what I'm hoping to achieve. How can I work backwards? Like what's the step before that step? And then you'll actually start getting those lines closer and closer together. So even if you're not necessarily able to connect the dots fully at that particular time, that gap is a lot tighter than what it was before you had that internal conversation where you're like at start and finish. It's like, well, how the hell am I going to do that? It's like, well, now you only have to do this. Like, and if I can get to this point, I can almost see over the hill to this point. How do I just fill in that gap? And if I don't know, well, at least I can try a bunch of different things that might get me over there. And if one doesn't work, I'll try another one, but it's not that far of a travel to get there. So I think that's that's an important thing that I adopt that really helps me kind of get over the hump of things when I'm feeling stuck. The other thing is like, you know, we always say like, follow your passions, follow your dreams. That's all well and good. Don't forget that there's a lot of work that's involved in that. And you have to go in with that mindset. It's to have a daydreamer mentality is fun. It's nice. It's refreshing. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it as long as you can back it up and just know that when you're backing it up, it is going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be a lot of ups and downs. It's blood, sweat, and tears. Like that's not a term for no reason. Like that's what it takes. If you're going to really do something the right way, it's going to be like that. And then from there, I shift the focus from the blood, sweat, and tears to the actual journey. If your journey wasn't a roller coaster, if you didn't have ups and downs, if you think of your life as a movie or as a novel, nobody wants to read and nobody wants to watch a story about lollipops, sunshine, and rainbows. Nobody wants that. And that's not to say we care about what the other people are thinking, but I mean, like for yourself, when you're going to look back on your life, you want to look back and be like, I was fulfilled. I had a great life, of course. But I also, I take pride. I appreciate, I value those times where it was my why moment, where I have my back against the wall, where I'm feeling, I like that. I use that. I harness that emotion still. So I want to be able to look back and look at the different chapters of my life and being like, oh, that one was a doozy, but I was able to push through and overcome. Like those things, I think when you're feeling down, just know that you're not going to feel down forever, but you're going to have to work your ass off to get out of it. But it's going to be that much greater. Think of it as, you know, in sports, right? You're a rookie coming out of college or whatever, you get drafted and you get into the pros, you're in the big leagues. And like, of course, as a rookie, you know, as an aspiring pro athlete, your dream is to win a championship. But as a rookie, you get out, you get drafted, you join a dynasty, and your first 5 years in the league, you win a championship. That's an amazing story. It's fantastic. But you give me the rookie that's scratched and clawed, worked their ass off to get to the pros. They get in the pros. They crushed it throughout, so they get drafted high. They go on a garbage team, right? They're in the basement for a bit. Then they reach the playoffs, and sure enough, at some point, they hit the championship. Is the championship, and everybody's going to be different, but is that championship as sweet or even potentially sweeter than the person that's won it the first 5 years? Or is it for the person that's been through the trenches, seen the bottom, and been able to rise and really taste that success and be like, man, I know what the other side looks like. I don't like that side, but like I can appreciate and value this side so much more now that I've gone through that. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Absolutely. Well, and you always learn lessons through those too. That's what all of those things are for. Is you go through these tough times in life and you come out on the other side with a different perspective and a different lesson every time. And I think you also, if you are looking at life and assuming that at any point in time the pain, the problems, whatever, are going to just completely stop. Obviously, when you get money, everything becomes a little easier because you're comfortable. The bills become less of a worry, but then you still have health. You still have this, you still have that. There's always going to be that journey regardless whether you make it or not, that pain, those problems, those are just part of life. And I think that's one of those things that you can set yourself up for failure almost, because you think that's going to go away. Same thing with like dieting. I've lost a lot of weight, and it's still like you're constantly working. And I feel like even people that are like, again, you hear people in the wrestling world and they're talking about like not being in the shape they want to be in their like physical specimens. And it's like, oh, okay, this journey never ends. You're always going to have that mental like battle. That's just, I think, part of life. And if you just take the lessons from it each time and look at it as that as, oh, this is happening for me, not to me, and I can take the lesson out of this and use it to my advantage going forward. So I either don't end up in that position, because that pain, you're like, I don't want to fucking do that again. Let's figure out how to not go back into that world. And you take those lessons from it and you just progress and move forward. And I have absolutely loved this conversation, and I'm ready to run through a brick wall now.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Red. Thank you, Jared, for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for taking the time, and we appreciate it. At this time, we do want to thank our sponsors for letting us do what we do. Wabash Valley Plumbing. They lay pipe. That's our slogan, not theirs. Peak Performance Gym. No peak, no results. RJ's Formal Wear. They have sweet suits. And Stitch Brands. They embroider stuff. Thank you to all those people. Thank you again, Sean. I know I saw you laughing down there on the screen.
So good.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you again. We're out of here. Keep pushing. Love you.
Love you.